Hello everyone, and this is Phoenix here, and we are doing another top 10 list, and this time this is actually an idea that was requested to me by Bossenberth. He said that doing a list on the top 10 worst video game music that you ever listened to would be an interesting topic, and well, yeah, I agree, that would be an interesting topic. But it is also a very hard one to do, because I kind of have to think back at every single game that I've played, or every single game that I've heard the music from, or watched someone play, or anything like that. So I really had to think hard about this one, and obviously I can't name every single thing out there, because there's even some music in games that I really like that are, not the greatest sounding ever. Now, to make things a little bit easier, one rule that I did add here is that I'm only going to be talking about games that are officially released. So you're not going to see any unlicensed games or pirated games or, any of that kind of crap. I'm sure you know the kind of games I'm talking about. I'm talking about such classics like Hong Kong 97, and then there's also Crazy Bus, and then finally I'll mention is Sonic Adventure 7 on the Game Boy Color. So those are not going to be on the list for obvious reasons, and besides it'd be way too easy to guess anyway. So fuck those games. Well, anyways, here is my opinion of what I gathered of some of the worst music that I ever heard in video games. So at number 10, we have Drakengard 1 with Chapter 5 On the Ground. Now, Drakengard 1 definitely has a very fascinating OST, mostly because it's just so weird and bizarre. So I kinda like some of the songs on there, and yeah, a lot of them do sound pretty damn creepy, but they are actually pretty good. Just, very weird. But this song, on the other hand, just sounds like complete crap. Mostly because it's just a very repetitive loop, and it pretty much sounds like a broken record that's being pissed on. And it's also one of the most forgettable songs in the entire game, at least all the ones that I've listened to. It's definitely not as forgettable as that one song that has that chanting at the beginning that sounds like something serious. Seriously, go listen to 9th chapter closing from this game and that's what it sounds like. Anyways, this song just feels lazy and just thrown together at last minute. And as for number 9, we have Doomsday Warrior with Shadow. First things first I have to say is that this game is a pretty bad fighting game on the Super Nintendo, and this song just kinda sucks, mostly because it doesn't even suit the game whatsoever, because this is a game that's supposed to be post-apocalyptic, kinda like Fist of the North Star. And this song kinda sounds like something that would play in a shitty-ass funhouse that is not even fun. And it just gets really annoying really quickly. So bottom line, this game sucks, this music sucks, and not only that, but maybe eventually I'll have to do a review on it. And as for number 8, we have Resident Evil with Mansion Basement. Resident Evil was always known for having some really good atmospheric music, but this is one song where I kinda wonder what the fuck were they thinking. To me, it kinda sounds like a big giant ass fart. Now, if it was possible to try to make the song sound suiting to the game, they'll might as well just make Chris Redfield into a fucking clown while walking into Candyland. It just doesn't work whatsoever. So this is another example of a crappy song within a good game, and thankfully you don't have to hear it as much. And as for number 7, we have Genghis Kong with Byzantine theme. I have no idea how to fucking say it. Now, I do find that the composer who did a lot of the music for Koei back in the day usually did a pretty good job. Although there are some songs that can be a little bit too high-pitched, but this song on the other hand just pisses me off. Not only is it irritating as fuck, but the pitch is just too damn high. And weirdly enough, it kind of reminds me of something from Action 52, which is definitely not a good thing. Oh, and now that I mentioned it, no, Action 52 will not be on this list. But yeah, this is probably the closest sounding thing to an Action 52 game without it being Action 52. And now that I think about it, maybe the composer for this song was really angry when they made it, so it turned out like crap. Because there's one quote that Genghis Khan said, and that was, "Action that is performed in anger is doomed to failure." And maybe that's just it. This song was doomed to failure because they were fucking angry. And as for number 6, we have LSD Dream Emulator with track 7. Just like a lot of PS1 games, this one doesn't really have an official title. Now, I've talked a little bit about this game before, and I actually really enjoy it for how weird it is. And most of the music in this game can be really good, really creepy, and just really weird, but this song just sounds like complete shit. The best definition I can think about with this song is that it's a complete clusterfuck. And to me, it kinda sounds like a duck getting fucked, which that ironically rhymes. Now, to be positive on one thing, there is one thing in this game that does sound worse than this, and that happens to be that colorful place, and then you walk around on a tile, and this tile happens to be blue with a yellow face on it, and every time you step on it, it just sounds like goddamn ear rape. So imagine running around on that tile with this music in the background. That would just be hell. Now, as for number 5, we have Highlight with the Overworld theme. Now, I don't want to get too much into talking about the game itself, because I do find this game is a little bit overhated, but that's for another discussion for another day. But this music, on the other hand, is just so fucking bad, and it's not even just bad, but it's like a complete ripoff of the Indiana Jones theme, which is pretty unforgiving considering how iconic that theme is. I mean, if you don't know what that song is, then I'm sorry to tell you, but you haven't lived yet. So yes, the song is mainly bad because it rips off a really good song and it happens to make it sound like complete ass. And it also doesn't help that this song plays throughout the entire game. And the other song that plays right at the end of the game also sounds like a ripoff of the Indiana Jones theme song, just slightly different and still very crappy sounding. And as for number 4, we have Bubsy 3D with track 3. Do I even need to talk about the game at all? I think we all know that this game is a piece of garbage. But not just the game itself, but even some of the music in this game just completely sucks. So this song sounds completely dull, and it's also very annoying. The only thing worse than this is the fact that imagine listening to this with Buzzy's voice talking. Oh, fuck. And it's also just plain out forgettable. Almost so forgettable that I actually forgot it even existed. But still, it's just a piece of fucking turd. But before we move on to the next one fun fact that I actually found to be really funny is that the voice actor for Bubsy in Bubsy 3D also played Maya from Persona 2. Well, Eternal Punishment that is, not the PSP one. And as for number 3, we have Rocky and Bullwinkle on NES with track 2. Remember how I mentioned with the game Genghis Kong how that song just felt like completely too high pitch? Well, this one just is like an insult to that one. So the leveling on the song just completely sucks, mostly because some parts sound way too high and some parts sound way too low, and it's a bunch of fuckular balls. And it also doesn't help with the fact that this song like repeats over and over and over again in an endless loop, and it's just fucking nightmare. And no, not the Nightmare from Soul Calibur, because he's actually awesome, but I'm talking about something that is just a complete travesty. So to end it here, fuck this song. And as for number 2, we have the Terminator on NES with LA Streets. Oh man, this song is so bad that it barely even qualifies as music. That's how bad it is. If anything, they should have just used this as like a sound effect or something, not just a complete song. To me, it just sounds like a complete swirl going like, and then in the background just goes like, it's just so fucking lazy that I just can't come up with anything creative to say about it, but it's just completely assular. So before we start with the number 1 spot, there is only going to be one honorable mention I'm going to mention here. Now, the only reason why I'm only going to mention one is because this song is really terrible, but the thing was, I couldn't find a good sample of the song, so unfortunately you can't really listen to it. But if you've played the game, then you're fully aware that this song just completely sucks. And that happens to be the Overworld theme in Stargazer on the Famicom. Without saying anything about the game or anything like that, all I have to say is that the music in it is just beyond terrible. So that's why it's going to be an honorable mention. Normally, when I do these videos, I usually like to mention a whole bunch of things, but I'll just keep it short this time. So anyways, let's get back on track and talk about the number 1 spot, and that happens to belong to Wayne's World on the Sega Genesis with Bohemian Rhapsody. I'm willing to bet that a good portion of you have seen the movie before and know that there's a part in the movie where they all sing Bohemian Rhapsody in the car, and they implemented that in the game in both the Super Nintendo and the Genesis version. It's a poorly done cutscene with some poorly done music, but the thing is, the Genesis version is so fucking horrible that it makes me want to stab my ears out. And to make matters worse, it just completely butchers a really good song from Queen. And to me, that is unforgivable. But to be positive on one thing, at least this version of the song is better than Kanye West's cover. But that ain't saying much, because comparing this song to Kanye West's cover is like shitting out needles or shitting out knives. Both are very unpleasant, and one is worse than the other, but not by much. But either way, I think you get the idea. This song is fucking awful, and same with that one too. And I can officially say that it's the worst video game music in my own opinion from a licensed game, not including Crazy Bus, because obviously that would be the number 1 spot out of all time, but we're not counting that because, well, that's just too shitty. So that is all the ones I can come up with worst video game music. And as I said before, there's plenty of other ones out there, but I figured this is one that I think would be pretty entertaining. And I also have to thank Bossenberg for giving me this idea, because this one was actually pretty fun to do. Despite me having to listen through a whole bunch of crap, it was fun to do. So if any of you are listening to this and you have some really good ideas on some top 10 lists, whether they be for video game music or video game characters or, you know, anything like that, or even other stuff, whatever it will be, feel free to give those suggestions. Of course, make sure that I haven't done it already, but if I haven't done it, then I'll see if I can look into it. And besides, you get a free shoutout as well, which is always a good thing. So if you want, you can share some of your worst video game music that you've ever listened to. So that will be the end of this topic, so thanks for watching and commenting.